Hi guys, I hope you're all well. In the previous video, we talked about foreshortening and how it distorts the shapes of parts of objects or whole objects, how the front is large and the back small, and some of it may even be obscured. Then I showed you how to use a method called informal perspective to help you draw foreshortening realistically. Now in this video, I'm going to show you a different method called linear perspective to help you draw foreshortening. Foreshortening has to do with building depth. So in foreshortening, or in realistic perspective, as things recede into the distance, they become narrower, shorter, and closer together. Linear perspective has three types, I guess: 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, and 3-point perspective, and I'll show you why they call that. 1-point perspective, one of the sides points right at you and is in the foreground. That will be pretty straightforward to draw, right? Then you follow the angles of the sides, in this case the top of the lid. Draw two perspective lines crossing each other. Where they cross, there will be a vanishing point, and the vanishing point is on the eye level line. There's only one vanishing point, that is why this is called 1-point perspective. Now you can draw the tin. Now, as I said, the front is pretty straightforward, but you can see that the lid becomes narrower towards the background, and that's why you need linear perspective to help you draw this distortion. Now, when we look at 2-point perspective, one of the corners are pointing at you and is in the foreground. So you draw a straight line for that, vertical line for that. Then you draw to either side perspective lines following the angles of the sides, the tops and the bottoms, to form two vanishing points on the eye level line. That is why this type of linear perspective is called 2-point perspective. Now you can draw the sides of this tin, and you can use the two back corners at the top to draw the distorted lid by drawing two perspective lines crossing each other to the opposite vanishing points. And there you have the lid perfectly in perspective, which otherwise would have been hard to draw, to be honest. In 3-point perspective, we are looking either down on something or we're drawing a very tall building and looking up at it. So extend the corner line downwards, draw your two sets of perspective lines to the sides for the two vanishing points on the eye level line. Then you draw the sides and the perspective lines from either top corner crossing each other to the opposite vanishing point to draw the lid or the top of the building. Then you're going to draw two more perspective lines downward toward this center line for the corner, and where they cross that center line, that's your third vanishing point. Now, why do you need a third vanishing point? If you look carefully at the tin, you'll see, because we are looking down on it, the sides become narrower towards the bottom. That's where the third vanishing point comes in. Now, I'm going to draw this planter with the flowers, but let me quickly show you how I'm going to go about it. First, the corner pointing right at me, the one closest. Then the two sets of vanishing points to the sides, perspective lines, to the sides to create the two vanishing points, that's on eye level, at the angles for the sides. And then I'm going to draw the two back corners and use them to draw the top or the inside of the planter using the perspective lines crossing. Right, something I neglected to say in the previous part of the video is that you must keep your perspective lines very light, because they are only your guidelines, like the grid lines would be. So keep your perspective lines very light. And in this case, the first thing I need to do is to see that I get this angle of the corner right. And the next thing is that I leave enough space at the top for the flowers. So I'm looking at, the planter will be about this high, and the plants will be about 1.5 of that. The height of the plants will be about 1.5, so there should be that much space at the top, and then like this, and then about 2/3 of that. So about this would be the planter, right? And I've got the angle. I'm going to draw my perspective lines dark so that it shows up properly on the video. And I do not know that I will have enough space on the page for either of the two vanishing points, but let's see. Right, so I'm going to start with the perspective lines. The top one, the angle seems to be like that, so I'm going to draw that perspective line, and the bottom looks to be, this part of the planter doesn't really, yes it does become a little bit narrower at the bottom, but not much. Does it? No, it doesn't much. Okay, so I won't have space for this vanishing point here. It's okay, I've got the angles right, so that's what matters most. Now that angle seems to be about there, so that vanishing point. See, once I have one line, I can use that as a reference to compare the next line's angle against. So this angle would be there. Right. Now I can get the sides. Now the sides are also a little tilted. This side goes there. And this side compared to the length of this one, it seems like about 5 of these can fit in here. So let's say 1, 2, 3, yeah, round about there, and the angle for the back seems to be there. Okay, so because the plants are in the way now, I have to guess the angles by what I can see, because I don't have the vanishing points on the page. So see, then we improvise, but I do this knowing that when I extend this line and these two lines will connect on the eye level line at some point, so they mustn't angle away from each other. That much I do know. Oopsie. Okay, and the same with this one. Yes, that seems right. Okay, so there's my planter, nicely in perspective. Now I'm going to lighten these lines a little. See, once you have this part, the part that you need to be in perspective, once you have that in perspective, you can then erase the perspective lines. I'm going to keep them there for you for now. I'm just going to lighten all these perspective lines because I would have normally drawn them very, very light so that they don't interfere and so that it's easier to erase them once I start doing the actual underdrawing. Okay, so they're nice and light now. Now I can go ahead and do the underdrawing. So here we go. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. The rest of this picture doesn't have to do anything with perspective or foreshortening, so the flowers and stuff I'm gonna leave like that. Otherwise this video is gonna become very long and boring. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.